I stood there, staring at the casket like I was frozen in place. 9 years old. That's how old my son was. Mason didn't even get a shot at life. And now I was watching him go into the ground while holding his favorite yellow truck in one hand and the folded-up funeral program in the other. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The dirt under my boots felt like it was sinking. The cemetery was dead quiet except for the hum of the hydraulic lift lowering him down. I looked around one more time. Still just me. No family, no friends. No one except Mr. Howard, my next-door neighbor for over 20 years. He stood back by the tree line in a brown windbreaker, holding a plate of sandwiches he brought from home, like we were still just doing chemo rotations and needed snacks for the long haul. That wasn't the case anymore. This was the end of it. My name's Evan Daniels. I'm 37 years old, and I live in Evansville, Indiana. Today I buried my only son, and no one from my family showed up. Quick note, before we start, how's your day going and where are you joining from? Leah, my ex-wife, hadn't seen Mason in over a year. She walked out 2 years ago when the first diagnosis came in. Said she couldn't watch him suffer, just never came back. My parents, they texted me 2 days ago from the airport, said they were flying to Maui. Non-refundable. Apparently palm trees matter more than their grandson's funeral. Jake, my brother, was hosting his wife's baby shower. Guess mimosa towers and pink cupcakes beat grief and dirt. The only person who sat with Mason during treatment when I couldn't was Mr. Howard. He watched cartoons with him, played Go Fish, even helped me move the oxygen tank from room to room. My own brother wouldn't answer calls, but my 70-year-old neighbor brought food and sat quietly next to my dying kid. After the service ended, I just stood there until the cemetery worker gave me a nod. It was over. I turned and walked to my car, dropped into the driver's seat, and checked my phone out of habit. Shouldn't have. Trina, Jake's wife, was live on Facebook. Big group selfie, balloons everywhere, her hand over her pregnant belly like a Hallmark card. Caption said, "Family is everything." They were clinking glasses, laughing, celebrating, all while my boy was in the ground, my hands locked around the steering wheel. The toy truck fell into my lap. And for a minute, I didn't feel grief. I felt rage. They didn't just skip a funeral, they erased him. And I wasn't letting that slide. I didn't even get my shoes off when my phone buzzed. Dad, we need to talk about Mason's education trust. Bring the paperwork by Monday. I stared at it for a second, like maybe I read it wrong, but no, that was real. The education trust. $600,000, set up when Mason was 2. Back then, Leah and I were still pretending things would last. Even after the split, I kept contributing to it. No matter what happened between us, I wanted Mason taken care of. Now, he was gone. And that trust came straight to me. I replied, I buried my son today. Not the time. Not even 30 seconds passed before Mom's message came in. Mom, it's important for the family. Don't be emotional. I sat down on the arm of the couch, heart still pounding from the funeral, hands gripping the phone so tight I could hear it creak. Don't be emotional? Mason was in the ground, my 9-year-old son, and they were already circling the money like buzzards. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I walked into the kitchen and grabbed a beer out of habit, but didn't open it. Just stared at it while my brain caught up to what I already knew. They didn't skip his funeral because they were grieving in private. They skipped it because they didn't need to be there. They had other plans, ones that didn't include me. I grabbed my coat and walked across the yard to Mr. Howard's house. He was out back, like always, messing with the rusted smoker he swore he was going to fix one day. When he saw my face, he didn't ask anything, just said, "Want to sit?" I told him what happened, every word of it, the texts, the tone, the timing. He blinked slow, like he was trying not to say what he really thought, then finally muttered, "They didn't show up to mourn, but now they want the money?" Hell no. He stood up straight, shoulders tense. "Evan, you've been killing yourself for that boy for years. Where were they? Where were they when we were trading off nights at the hospital? When you couldn't afford Uber rides to chemo and I had to drive you both at 5 a.m.? I didn't answer. Didn't need to. He already knew. I left his place, walked back home, and sat down at my kitchen table. Mason's old sketch pad was still sitting there, the one with his name written in blue crayon on the front. He used to draw himself as a superhero, always flying, always smiling. He was stronger than I ever was. I opened it up to a blank page and started writing. not drawings, lists every doctor's visit, every hospital stay, every nurse's name, every fever, every chemo night, every puke bucket I had to clean, every night he couldn't sleep unless I was holding his hand, every damn time I reached out to my family and no one picked up, every missed birthday, every too busy excuse, every Facebook post while Mason was losing weight and asking me if he was going to die. I kept writing until my hand cramped. They wanted to talk about the trust? Fine. Let's talk about what that money was really for. Monday morning came fast. I parked at the curb outside my parents' house and killed the engine. My stomach was tight, my hands still sore from gripping a pen all weekend, writing down every time they weren't there. Inside, the air smelled like lemon polish and coffee. I stepped into the living room and froze. It didn't look like my parents' house anymore. It looked like a conference room, chairs in a neat circle, bottled water lined up, a stack of folders on the coffee table like evidence. Jake was standing, one hand shoved in his pocket like he owned the place. Trina sat next to him in a blazer, hair slicked back, scrolling on an iPad. And there was Leah, off to the side in a chair by the window, eyes darting between us like she'd wandered into the wrong room. Jake gestured toward the main folder. "We talked to a lawyer," he said. "We need to reallocate Mason's trust. You're not in the right headspace to manage it." I stared at him, then at the folder. "Is that what you're calling this? Reallocation?" Trina leaned forward, her voice sugar slick. "We had commitments. That doesn't mean we didn't care." I turned my eyes to Leah. "And you? You're part of this?" She shifted, voice quiet. "I just think we should all have a say in how Mason's memory is honored." "You mean his money?" "That's not fair," she snapped. I moved closer to the coffee table, my hands brushing the edge. That's when I saw it, a rolled-up set of blueprints half hidden under the stack. "What's this?" I asked, pulling it free. Trina's head snapped up. "It's nothing." She lunged, reaching for it, but I held on and unrolled the sheets. "Knew it," I muttered. "Kitchen expansion, new counters, new island. Must be a hell of a legacy." "You don't understand the timing," Trina said quickly, palms up, like she was explaining something simple to a kid. "Contractors are booked months out. If we wait, we lose our slot." I dropped the blueprints back on the table. "So Mason's trust becomes your remodel fund." "Got it." Jake straightened his tie, his face gone hard. "Don't twist this. We're looking out for you, for everyone." "Sure you are," I said. He slid another document across the table. This one had legal letterhead. "Petition for guardianship," he said flatly. "You sign this, or we'll have the court declare you mentally unfit. That trust can do more good in our hands than yours right now." "Mentally unfit," I repeated, my voice low. "You're actually doing this. You're grieving," he said. "You're unstable. It's not an attack, it's reality. We're trying to help you." I looked at Leah. "And you're okay with this? Taking my son's future and calling it charity?" She pressed her lips together, but didn't answer. "You all think I'm still the guy who shuts up and goes along," I said. "You think burying my son broke me so bad you can just swoop in?" Jake's voice got sharper. "Evan, sign it now, and we can keep this out of court." I reached across, grabbed the papers, the folder, and even the blueprints. My pulse was loud in my ears. "You already made this ugly," I said, standing. "Let's see how far you're willing to go." I turned and walked out, the documents under my arm, not giving them a chance to say another word. I didn't even take my coat off when I walked into Marcus Holland's office. The whole place smelled like paper and coffee. No fancy decor, no fake warmth. Just shelves stacked with thick law books and a big oak desk that had seen decades of people coming in with problems. He was waiting for me behind it, silver hair, square glasses, button down rolled to the elbows. No smile, no small talk, just a nod. "You must be Evan." I dropped the folder, the blueprints, and the petition on his desk. "I'm in it deep," I said. He opened the folder, flipped through the documents like a man scanning a grocery list. Then he pulled out the trust agreement, read the first few lines, and looked me dead in the eye. "Your ex wrote in clear terms, if anything happens, the father, you, controls everything." It's airtight. I sat down, my hands gripping my knees. "They're lining up witnesses. They're calling me unstable. They're trying to take the trust." Marcus leaned back in his chair, slow and deliberate. "They're not coming for the trust." They're coming for you. That landed like a punch. What do you mean? He turned his monitor so I could see. Old call logs from his firm, names highlighted in yellow. Trina and Jake's names. Dates. They contacted my office 6 months ago, Marcus said, right around the time Mason relapsed. I blinked. They were planning this even then. Long game, Marcus said. They want to flip the narrative, make you look broken, incapable. If they can convince a judge you're unfit, the trust shifts out of your hands. I rubbed my face hard, fighting the burn behind my eyes. So, what do I do? You build your defense like a war, he said, voice flat. Document everything. Get character witnesses, anyone who saw you doing the work, and you record what they say. You don't fight fire with water here, Evan. You match them strike for strike. I leaned forward. They threatened to have me declared mentally unfit. Said the court would side with them. Marcus gave a half smirk. Let them try. Paper beats noise every time. We're going to bury them in facts. He tapped the trust statement with his index finger, hard enough to echo. This is your anchor. They can't change the terms, so they're trying to change you. Don't roll over. Don't give them an inch. I exhaled, still staring at the call logs. I've already started a list. Hospital visits, missed birthdays, all of it. Good, Marcus said. Expand it, Mr. Howard, Mason's nurses, anyone credible, line them up. This isn't just a hearing, it's a character war. They want the judge to see you as unstable. We're going to show them the father who raised a sick kid by himself. I stood, picking up the folder again. So I build my defense? Marcus nodded once. Like one, because that's what this is. I walked out of his office with the papers under my arm and my jaw set. For the first time in days, I felt something close to control. I got home and didn't sit down, not even for a second. Pulled out the boxes I'd shoved into the hall closet, bills, appointment letters, medication logs. Every crumpled parking receipt from the hospital. Every mileage note I'd made driving back and forth at 3 a.m. I started building a timeline, a real one. One by one, I laid it all out on the kitchen table. ER visits, chemo schedules, nurse logs, Mason's drawings with IV tubes hanging off his stick figure arms. It was all there. The life we lived while everyone else pretended we didn't exist. Then I called Mr. Howard. He showed up 20 minutes later with a spiral notebook. I started keeping track when Leah stopped showing up, he said, placing it gently on the table. Didn't think I'd ever need it. Inside were notes dated all the way back to Mason's first hospital stay. Times he picked up meds. Days he babysat while I worked remote. Even days he just sat on the porch in case I needed backup. I can sign an affidavit, he said. Whatever you need. The next day I reached out to Ms. Gomez, Mason's nurse from his chemo rounds. She didn't hesitate. Sent back a signed letter that ended with, Mr. Daniels is the most involved parent I've seen in 17 years of pediatric care. I printed 3 copies. Then I installed cameras on my front porch. One at the door, one angled at the driveway. Motion alerts set to ping my phone. I wasn't taking chances anymore. 2 nights later, Trina showed up. I didn't open the door, just cracked the window enough to hear. She stepped into the frame like she was posing for a campaign photo. Evan, she said, soft, fake. I didn't come to argue. I just want you to think about this reasonably. I didn't speak. The camera caught everything, her tone, her expression, every word. This doesn't have to go public, she said. By that weekend, I had everything sorted. Files, statements, video, timestamps. It was a damn war room in my kitchen. All that was left was for them to make their move. And I was ready when they did. The envelope showed up on a Thursday. Thick, certified mail, the kind that doesn't fold. I opened it at the kitchen counter, hand steady, heart not so much. Emergency petition for guardianship. Daniels versus Daniels. There it was, full-blown legal war. They were filing to have me declared mentally unfit. Attached to the packet was an affidavit from Melissa, a woman I used to call a friend. She'd been around during Mason's early treatments, helped out a few times. I hadn't talked to her in over a year. Now, here she was, saying I'd shown erratic emotional behavior during Mason's illness, that I was prone to mood swings, unstable, and unfit to manage a financial trust of this size, They even brought up the night I collapsed in the hospital hallway. I'd been up for 72 hours, hadn't eaten, hadn't slept. Mason had spiked a fever, and I just dropped. Nurses caught me before I hit the tile. In the affidavit, they called it reckless neglect. By Friday morning, the local paper had it on the front page of the community section. Family fights to save grieving father from himself. And right under it, a bright photo of Jake and Trina holding hands in their backyard. Trina's belly popped, perfectly framed, like it was some Lifetime movie shoot. Her caption on social, "Doing what's right isn't always easy, but family comes first." I nearly crushed my phone in my hand. Marcus called as I was pacing the garage. "They just played their last card," he said. "It's all out now. We go to court. They really think this is going to work." "They don't care if it works," he said. "They want public sympathy. They want noise. But noise doesn't hold up in court. Let the judge see who they really are." I leaned against the workbench, staring at the oil stains on the concrete. My jaw ached from grinding my teeth. "Let's end it," I said. There was no panic anymore, just heat, just focus. Marcus told me the court date. I circled it in red on the calendar over the sink. Then I got back to work, lined up the files, prepped the witness statements, double-checked every clip from the door cam. They thought grief made me soft. They thought I'd fold under pressure. They forgot one thing. I buried my son. There's nothing left they can take that I haven't already lost. The courtroom smelled like old carpet and tension. I walked in behind Marcus, documents clutched tight under my arm. My heart wasn't racing, not anymore. It was steady, focused, cold in the way you only get when you've already lost the worst thing that could be taken from you. The room was packed. Probably half of them didn't even know the details, just came for the drama. You could feel the eyes on me the second I stepped through the doors. Jake and Trina were already seated, front row. Trina wore a fitted black blazer, hair pulled back, not a single piece out of place. Like she was dressed for sainthood. Jake had their newborn in his arms, like that baby was part of their case. Probably was. And Leah, sitting next to them, not looking at me, just adjusting her blouse and staring straight ahead, like all of this had nothing to do with her. Judge walked in, everyone rose, gavel cracked. This was it. Trina spoke first. "We only want to help my brother," she said, her voice dripping with rehearsed concern. "He's not well. He's still grieving, and it's clouding his ability to make decisions. We're not here to take, we're here to support." She turned slightly toward the judge, hands folded like a church lady. "Mason meant the world to all of us. This is about preserving his legacy responsibly." Jake just nodded along, didn't speak. Then Melissa took the stand. I hadn't seen her in over a year, but there she was, all done up like she was reading lines. "Evan had episodes," she said, voice soft, almost shaky. "During Mason's illness, he'd go from calm to angry in seconds. Once, I found him crying in the hospital parking lot, punching the steering wheel. It scared me. I worried for Mason. Marcus didn't flinch, didn't even blink. When it was his turn, he walked straight to the center of the room and set a thick stack of binders down. "No opinion," he started, "just facts." He opened the first binder, documented appointments. 83 total, all attended by Mr. Daniels. No absences, no missed check-ins. He held up another binder. Nurse statements, teacher emails, therapist logs, all showing Mr. Daniels as the primary and often only caretaker. He stepped forward, calm and precise. "And here," he said, holding up a printed photo, "is the chair Mr. Daniels slept in every night Mason stayed at the hospital." He pointed to the empty seats behind me. "And here are all the people who didn't show up." Then Mr. Howard took the stand. He cleared his throat, voice like gravel. "I've lived next to Evan for 20 years, he said. "I watched him raise that boy. Watched him fall apart and hold it together at the same time. I've never seen a man give more of himself than he did for Mason." He stared down the front row, right at Trina. "They want his money now, but they were ghosts when Mason needed people." You could have heard a pin drop. Then Marcus tapped his laptop. "Your Honor, one final piece of evidence." He played the clip from my porch camera. Trina's face filled the courtroom screen. "Just sign the papers, Evan. This doesn't have to go public, but if it does, we'll make sure people think you've lost it." The room went dead quiet. Judge leaned back, looking straight at Jake and Trina. "You two filed this petition claiming concern," he said slowly. But the evidence shows manipulation, harassment, and premeditated coercion. He turned toward me. Mr. Daniels, petition denied. Full rights to the trust remain with you. He turned back to them. Furthermore, a permanent restraining order is granted against all petitioners. Any further filings will be treated as harassment and subject to sanctions. Gavel slammed. I didn't smile, didn't speak, just stood there as they sat frozen, still trying to process what just happened. Marcus leaned in, whispered, "That's checkmate." I walked out of the courtroom without looking back. The following week, I sat at a desk in the back office of First Savings Bank, pen in hand, folder open in front of me. The trust was officially mine. No more signatures needed, no more court dates, just a clean title and full control. Marcus sat across from me, nodding as I signed the final release. "You did it," he said. "No," I said. "We did. Mason did." From there, it moved fast. Marcus drafted the paperwork to convert the trust into a non-profit. We called it the Mason Ryan Daniels Foundation. First grant, support for travel and lodging for families during pediatric treatment. First recipients, a couple from Terre Haute living in their car while their daughter went through chemo. Mr. Howard came by the house later that day with a yellow legal pad and a whole plan. "I already talked to the hospital kitchen staff," he said. "If you fund the food, I'll coordinate weekly meals for the families. No red tape, no overhead. Just food where it's needed done," I said. No hesitation. He grinned and got to work before I could even pour him a coffee. Meanwhile, things started unraveling for the people who came after me. Trina's kitchen remodel stopped halfway through. Contractor pulled out once-word spread about the court ruling. City permit got flagged over an unpaid lien. Jake's IT business, gone. Turns out you can't run a company when your clients see headlines about guardianship fraud. Melissa, fired. Someone leaked her affidavit to her employer, along with the footage Trina didn't know I had. Apparently, HR doesn't love false psychiatric claims. I didn't celebrate. I didn't need to. Karma showed up, right on time, did its thing, and kept moving. My parents haven't called. Not once since the ruling. No emails, no apology. Just silence. And honestly, I prefer it that way. The house feels quieter now, but not empty. I get texts every few days from parents across the state. Photos of their kids with new coats, clean beds, rides to treatment. Smiles that don't have to be forced. One mom sent me a video of her son ringing the cancer-free bell. Said the hotel room we paid for helped them stay close during his final round. Sometimes the messages break me. Sometimes they keep me going. Either way, I save every single one. That's Mason's legacy, not just a trust fund, not a plaque or a charity golf event. Real help, real people. Hope that shows up and stays. I sit with that every night. And I finally sleep. I parked the truck under the old maple at Greenwood Cemetery. Wind was light, cold enough to sting, and the leaves under my boots cracked like thin glass with every step. I walked the path I knew by heart now. Row 6, left side, second from the end. Mason's spot. The toy truck was already in my hand. Yellow, scuffed on one side, the back wheel chipped. Same one he clutched through every chemo appointment. Same one I placed on the casket that final day when the straps creaked and the ground swallowed my world. I crouched down and set it next to the stone, brushed the dirt off the front. The plaque beside it read, Mason Ryan Daniels Memorial Grant, Helping One, Kid at a Time. I stood there a while. No words, just silence, same as always. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. Text from a number I didn't know. Attached was a photo of a little boy in a hospital gown holding a certificate with Mason's name on it. The message said, "He's in remission. You helped save my boy. Thank you." My throat tightened. I looked at the sky, then back down. I whispered, "We did, buddy." I sat down on the cold stone edge and let the wind cut through me. Not because I needed to feel pain, but because I needed to feel something. It still hit like it did the first week. That ache doesn't go away. It just finds different corners to hide in. But I wasn't the same man who once folded at every guilt trip. I wasn't the man my family thought I'd stay, quiet, compliant, scared to stand alone. I buried my son, and I buried the version of me who let people step over him to get what they wanted. What rose out of that hole wasn't soft, it was sharp. I'll never stop grieving, never stop missing his laugh or the way he used to call every nurse a doctor just to mess with them. But I'll also never let anyone take from him again. Or from me. I stood up, wiped the back of my jeans, and took one last look at the stone. Then I got back in the truck, started the engine, and stared out at the road ahead. Mason's work wasn't done, and I'd keep doing it. One fight at a time.